So today we're going to be talking about powers of 10, and the easiest way for me to talk about powers of 10 and what it is to show you examples. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you, and we're going to be looking at powers of 10. Powers of 10. So let's just look at the number 10. 10 is equal to or equivalent to 10. Well, what if we wanted two 10s and we're going to multiply those together? So we're going to multiply 10 times 10, and we know that that equals 100. Let's do 10 three times. 10 times 10 times 10 equals 1,000. Now, if you notice when I'm writing these numbers out, there is a pattern here. If you haven't figured it out yet, you will after this next one probably. I'm going to do 10 four times. 10 multiplied by 10, multiplied by 10, multiplied by 10. And that's going to be equivalent to 10,000. So what do we notice about these numbers? If you want a hint, look at the zeros. Look at the zeros that are in these numbers. We know that there's one zero here, and there's one over here. And there's two zeros here, and there's two zeros here. There's 1, 2, 3 zeros here, and there's 3 zeros here. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 zeros in this number. But what if we needed to multiply 10 30 times? How are we going to represent that? Are we going to have to go through and write 10 30 times? See, this is what powers of 10 is. And there's this term that's called exponents. And mathematicians found a really easy way to write out 10 multiplied 30 times with just using what's called a notation. A notation. And with notation and exponents, we have our base, which is 10. It will be 10 for powers of 10. This is called our base. And there's going to be a small number that goes up here. And so if we're saying 10 to the 5th power, which would be 10 multiplied by 5, 10 multiplied 5 times, this is going to be our exponent. This is our exponent that we're looking at. So let's look at some different examples. So if I'm saying that we have 10 to the 6th power, we know that that means 10 multiplied by 10, multiplied by 10, multiplied by 10, multiplied by 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, one more, multiplied by 10. Now you know how time consuming that's going to be to do this, to write all of this out. But this is the same thing as saying, well, there's 6 zeros, so I'm going to put 1, and then I'm going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 zeros. I'm going to count. We've got our ones, tens, hundreds, comma, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s, comma. So 10 to the 6th power equals 1 million. This is the same thing as this, and this is the same thing as this. When it's written with notation and an exponents, this is just a shorter way to write out 10, however many times it's being multiplied. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 times that this is being multiplied. And instead of taking the time to write out this whole thing, you can write 10 to the 6th power. So let's say we need to multiply. We will do, let's do 10 to the 5th power. Well, instead of writing out 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10, why don't we just put a 1 and put 5 zeros? 3, 4, 5. And then we put our comma. 10 to the 5th power is 100,000. And it's the same thing as if you wrote 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. This is the same thing as this. Well, what if you were given a number, and you're given a number like, let's do 10 million. And you need to figure out what exponent needs to go right there. We've already got our base. We know our base is going to be 10. So what we would do is you count the zeros. You say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 zeros. And you know that this is 10 to the 7th power. Just like if you had a bunch of zeros and you had a whole bunch of, I mean, seriously, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s, millions, 10 millions, 100 millions. We're in billions now. Billions, 10 billions, 100 billions. I mean, we're looking at 10 trillion, I think. Don't quote me on that, but I think that this is 10 trillion. I think trillion comes after billion. So this is trillion, 10 trillion. And instead of having to write out this whole big number or multiply 10 a whole bunch of times, you can just say, okay, well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 10 to the 13th power. This is the same thing as writing out 10 a whole bunch of times. Writing 10 multiplied a whole bunch of times.